well, if I was 13, 14 or something like that when I did the first real diet.
Really?
As in sticking to an actual, like, this is all you can eat, this is what you're eating for this many days. And doing it, you know, with my mum and my sister, I think.
Yeah.
Because it was, and the thing about it that sold us on it was the fact that it was fast results. It works, but you know, it's only for 3 days as well. It's like, oh, this is so manageable. We could totally do this.
Yeah.
And we did, and it worked. But then what? Because that was for 3 days, and it's like, well, then you can eat normal for the rest of the week, and then you do 3 days again. It's like, okay. Those 3 days were very extreme and were completely different to what we would ever have eaten before. So it wasn't. How are you supposed to do something like that? Like, legitimately, and stick to it and to be successful?
Yeah.
No way. I only did it once or twice, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pulled it out the drawer a few years later and gave it another go and thought, what on earth? Yeah.
What's another diet you did? What would be the next
Craig.
one? What's your experience with the Jenny Craig one?
Very, very slow. You eat a lot of food, really. For what I know now, there's a lot of food there, a lot of carbohydrates. It's all processed food, pretty much. There are things that you can go to the supermarket and buy, but the majority of it, they give it to you in the beginning. It's 7 days of, they tell you what to eat. And I guess to take that process away might help in the beginning if you're quite overweight. So you don't have to think about it, and then they slowly introduce your own days and things. But I never got that far. It's just too slow, or even some weeks were as little, to me, as little as a couple of 100 grams or something. And when you're putting so much into a diet, money and everything, and then you're getting such a little result, is too disheartening for me, and nothing gripped me, and lots of things came into my head, I guess, about, you know.
And because you hadn't developed a lifestyle, it went out the window like everything else.
It so did, yeah. I just was like, no, I can't afford to do this anymore. I'm not going to do this anymore. And it all just went out the window.
And then you tried, was it Weight Watchers after that one?
I've done Weight Watchers, yep, which was more successful and was faster. But first time around doing this, I've done it twice. I lost about 17 kilos, I remember. But I got to a point and just sort of, I know what happened. I got plantar fascia in my foot, stopped being able to exercise, and I walked every day, or 6 days definitely, each week. For 45 minutes was a good walk. But because that sort of got taken away from me, the exercise, I lost the plot with the food, because I did used to use a bit of the exercise to get extra points if I needed them, because you can exchange them. Most of the time I tried not to use them, but I'd be hungry, or I would think I was hungry, so I wanted to eat, and I wanted more points, so therefore I would use my walking points or whatever. So once that kind of went, I was starting to struggle, and constantly every day was using more points than I was allowed, and therefore the weight loss stopped, and that all went out the window too.
But same thing again, you hadn't developed a lifestyle
once again
where you did it without having to think.
That's right. It was very, like, the only way I managed to do Weight Watchers and do it successfully, and they do stress it, is to track. So every single thing I ate had to go down in my journal. How exhausting is that? I'm surprised I did it for as long as I did. Every single day, writing down exactly what you're having and eating, adding up your points, and that's the only way I lost weight, was by doing it hard out like that, which I just got fed up with doing as well. I was like, how do I have to do this for the rest of my life? Really? Just in order to get weight off, or to keep weight off? Is that what I've got to do?
And were you satisfied with it anyway? No, you weren't. You were hungry.
No, I was always hungry. That's the thing. I always ran out of points. And I'd make the free soup, and I'd have the free soup there, because that didn't use points. Oh, I'd always have a pot of that because I knew I'd always run out of points, always, because I was eating the wrong food. Because at that stage I didn't know anything about proteins or carbs or anything. But when I look at it now, I know I was hardly eating any protein because on Weight Watchers protein is higher in points.
Well, it was then, it might not be now.
It still is a little bit, because it wasn't that long ago I looked into it.
Yeah.
So a carb option is a lower option. They talk a little bit more about protein now to you.
They're getting the idea now.
They're slowly getting the idea that it's it's quite an important thing and how it all works, but they've still got their criteria, I guess. But all the food I pretty much ate was this carb on carb on carb on carb, and no sooner would I eat, I'd be hungry.
Yeah.
And the only way I was losing weight was because I was trying to stay in control and writing down what I was writing, and I wanted to lose weight. It wasn't easy at all.
See, one of the problems with a large thing like Weight Watchers or Jenny Craig, they start off with an idea, and as things change, the ideas change, but they can't change, otherwise they'd have to say, oh, we were wrong.
That's
you
right.
see, and it might look bad, They
even touch on that occasion. They know. I know there's more that they know, but they can't do anything about it because they're huge.
That's right.
And they have to slowly
slip it in. Well, if you're not on that diet and you listen and you're doing a different diet like the one you're doing now, of course you can switch straight away.
Yeah, exactly. The information's there, and that's the good thing about coming to you. Any little thing that you've found out, or it's just constantly renewing itself.
Yes.
And you're open to that, and it's available now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And nothing's wrong.
No.
Everything's worth a shot.
It's just, hey, look at this evidence now. Let's
test it.
Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah.
Way better than sitting on something that's probably, I don't know how old it is actually.
In general, things are usually about 15 years behind.
It's funny, I was thinking of that number, 10 to 15 years, is that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So, and even though they have not even that long ago released a new program and stuff, the Weight Watchers, it's still not there. Like they've just dropped a couple of little things in.
Yeah.
But
because there's this fear. We can't change just in case it's wrong, so we'll just slowly adapt it. See, that's how it's always going to be way behind. What's another diet you've tried?
Then where I filmed the most education was called Body Trim.
Right.
And that worked well.
Yep.
But it's still different to where I'm at now.
Yeah.
That led me into all of this, and because you're on a very similar path to that, or this, it's the same information. It's just a little bit different maybe.
Yeah.
But it's the carb and the protein, and I learnt what's what, because before I had no idea.
Yeah.
What was carb or what was protein, and no idea.
So you learnt what the difference between carbohydrates and proteins and fats. You learned about the macronutrients on the what was it called?
On the Body Trim.
The Body Trim. Yeah, you learnt about macronutrients. So you're actually learning something now.
I actually learnt because it's mainly a book and DVDs, and it's education.
There you
what
go.
It is.
Yeah.
That changed things massively for me, because before, like I said, I had no idea. I didn't know the difference between a carb and a protein.
Exactly.
Not really. Okay, a piece of meat and fruit and veggies, but what? How do you break all that down? There's so much more to it than just that, I think. And he talked about how your body works and your insulin response and all this kind of stuff. So I finally got some education.
Yeah. So then you started getting results, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and in the first, what motivated me in the first couple of weeks, it was some pretty
fast,
good results. Yeah. And I was like, oh wow. And then it continued though; it didn't stop.
Yeah.
We're still good weight losses for the weeks to come, and I'd taken off about 20 kilos, I think, before I came to see you.
And you came to see me because it stagnated again, right?
It did. I know I was teetering, I know that works, but I was struggling with emotional eating, I guess, is what it was. And so I would binge, what I'd call binge, and that binge may last for 3 days, a week, a month. And I was just getting very frustrated with that process.
Yeah.
Yeah. and wanting to be different.
So that brings us when you came to see me.
Yep.
And I kind of said, well, my diet's pretty much the same as what you taught there.
Yeah.
And I taught you about the proteins and carbs, a little bit deeper even into that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I also made you aware of the next step, which was you were stopping you from losing weight now.
That's right. And because that part, I don't know how you're supposed to learn any of that.
Were you even aware of it?
No, I didn't realise it was me sabotaging. I just thought it was, you know, I guess all some old beliefs that were sitting there, as well as the emotions that I'm dealing with at that time, and how, you know, and because so many people have the same beliefs, so you talk about it with someone and they just sort of help you build on them in a way, rather than break them down. So you're like, oh yeah, well that's why I'm doing that, and that's why I'm doing that, and you know. Actually,
you've really got it.
You made me challenge that.
Yeah. So talking about someone who's identifies with your beliefs, strengthens your belief.
Yeah,
which makes it even harder to get below where you were before.
And make change, because it's like patting you on the back, going, it's all right, I understand, and that's okay, and that's why you're doing it. So,
good.
Oh well, just do it, you know.
Yeah.
That's like almost like giving you permission, or.
So you've just had that awareness just now, haven't you?
Really.
As you were talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what happens, that whole process. And so therefore I'd just be like, oh, yeah, you know, but it wasn't, I don't know, I was fed up, I'm frustrated with that.
Yeah.
And wanted to change, wanted something different.
So you came and saw me and I said, no, that's bullshit.
Yeah, you challenged me on lots of things actually. And there were probably certain things that I went away and thought about for a long time.
After I said it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'd just be like, oh, that's impossible, or...
That's right.
How am I going to do that?
The first thing that happens when your beliefs are challenged is your mind goes into like, you know, when a computer shuts off, you know, what do you call it? Overload. Your mind goes into overload and it shuts off. And
I can't handle the information. I don't want it.
No, and you want to toss it out.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're mulled over it, eh?
Yes.
Because you could say, keep popping up, and you're mulled over it, and you listen to some of the things I said, and you couldn't get it out of your head, right?
That's right. That's right. And some of them may be months, or even perhaps a year, or they're still sitting in there, and I'm still going, pondering over it.
You see, the reason it's still sitting in there is because it's a truth that you don't want to believe.
Right.
Get it?
Yep.
Yeah. And it's not going to leave you.
No.
And I tell you what, in the end, there's only one way to find out, and that's to test it.
Yep.
And that's why you finally tested this truth that I told you about, that you thought, nah, that's not true.
Yes, because I remember one thing, I'm just remembering now what one of them was, and it was about Diet Coke. Now I'd shut that off. I didn't want to know about that. I didn't want you to be negative about that, because I trust and I know what you tell me is correct, you know, and it's up to me. But with Diet Coke, I really didn't want to hear you say anything negative about it, because I didn't want that to be gone out of my day. So I didn't want to hear it. But must be 3 months or so ago now that I decided, okay, no more Diet Coke. I'm going to give this a try, and knocked it out for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And had a noticeable weight loss, and was really surprised with what I thought I was massively addicted to.
Was it
I didn't want it anymore, and I still don't want it. And I wasn't as addicted to it as I actually thought, which kind of baffles me a bit.